I apologize for my CPU there, but Ozone is really CPU intensive because I'm using all these modules one by one to try out this kind of master. But that's what I did here. So you can hear that with the mastering, I just toned it and made sure that the loudness is okay. And I did my referencing. I listened to this track on different systems. I tried to play it in mono. I tried to play it on different sound sources instead of just my headphones or studio monitors or any other speakers that I have around the house. So that's the key to mastering. You want to listen to your music in different audio sources so that you can hear how it translates on different sound systems so that you can anticipate how people are gonna enjoy it and what's gonna be the experience that people are gonna have when they listen to your music. That's part of what mastering or what mastering engineers try to do. You want to make your music translate. So what I have here, if I can just show you guys, is I have firstly here I have EQ. That's just the parametric EQ from FL Studio that's doing a 20 hertz plus 18 kilohertz cut. So this EQ is just to tame the frequencies that we do not perceive, just to make sure that these frequencies will not mess up with any other effects that come after it. And then afterwards, what I have after this EQ is I have another EQ that I applied here from Ozone. And this EQ is doing some mid-side EQing. And mid-side is a little bit tricky, but I like to use mid-side, but not so much. So what I'm doing to my mids is that I am boosting my low frequencies here, and then I'm lowering my high frequencies there. And then on my side frequencies, I am just boosting my high frequencies so that my side frequencies are more brighter and more shinier than my middle frequencies. And if you guys want me to get do a more in-depth video on mid-side processing, you can let me know. But let's do a demo of what this is doing so that you guys can hear how it sounds. So this is how it sounds without this EQ. And this is with. So without and with. I'm pretty sure you don't even hear a lot of what this EQ is doing because it's really subtle. I can hear it because I'm the one that put it on there, unless if you have a trained ear, but I can actually hear what this EQ is doing. And if you cannot hear it, it's totally fine. It's supposed to be a subtle effect. I'm not trying to do too much with this mid-side EQing that I'm doing here. I'm just trying to tame a little bit of these frequencies. And if you noticed, this EQ is also doing kind of a dynamic EQing on these frequencies. It's not like a flat cut and just boosting, but it's dynamic. So it's only catching at a certain threshold. That's why you can see the threshold here and all these other things. That's what it's doing. It's supposed to be subtle, but you don't really have to do this to your master if you don't understand mid-side processing. So basically what mid-side processing is doing, if you want to know what that is doing, is just allowing for the middle of the stereo field to have a different character than the sides of the stereo field, just to kind of, you know, space things out and make sure that the listening experience is nice to the track. That's basically what this is doing. And then next I have an exciter here. And what the exciter is doing is just lifting certain frequencies and adding a little bit of distortion and some character to certain frequencies. So I grouped my frequencies in the lows, the mids, and the highs. So here in the low frequencies, I'm using a tube preset, and this is the exciter mode that I'm using to add a little bit of tube saturation to that low end so that I can give it some harmonics so that my low frequencies can have more body. And then the mid frequencies, I just added a tape. And then the high frequencies as well, I also added tape as well, but I'm not doing it so much. The amount is like 6, and the amount of the mids is like 3, and the amount of the low frequencies is like 6. So this is without, and this is with. without. So you can hear how the exciter is really bringing this whole track to life and bringing everything so nice and bright, because the track was really bassy when I made it. So I felt like it didn't really have a lot of shine. So I wanted to bring it through an exciter instead of using an EQ, because an EQ was just gonna not really give it the texture that I wanted it to give it. So that's why I used an exciter. And then next, what I have after that is a spectral shaper, and I just threw this on there. I'm gonna be honest, I just threw this on here just to see what it does, and just add a preset just to clean up the sub frequencies and just do something there on the sub frequencies, because I really love what it's doing to the sub frequencies. So this is how it sounds. Let me just bypass it. This is how it sounds without, and this is with. So it's just controlling my sub frequencies so that they are tamed, they are controlled, they are not too excessive, and they are also not too little. And you can see here the preset is light, and if you can check my threshold, it's not too much. I'm not doing too much to the low frequencies. You can see what's happening over here. So that's what I'm doing to this. And then afterwards, I have just a maximizer that I have here to add some volume and some gain, and to really make sure that my track is as loud as other tracks out there, to really give it the volume and the boost. So it's gonna get a little bit loud right now, just to warn you. So make sure if you're listening on a loud system, you can turn it down a little bit, because it's gonna get it a little bit louder right now. This is how it sounds right now, and with the maximizer. So the maximizer is just maximizing the volume to make sure that it's at a really good place, not too loud, but just the perfect loudness that I want it to be, because I want this track to be a banger. I want this to be like a club banger, instant banger that you can play at an event, at a club or wherever, and it must really pound your ears. That's what I really want this to do. And then after this, I have Insight Pro, which is just imaging, because I want to see what is happening in my track. So in combination with the limiter, I can use Insight to see what is happening in my track. So I have the spectrum here, and I have the loudness meters here, and I also have the sound field that shows me what's happening in the stereo field of my track. So if I play it, I apologize for my CPU there. So over here, I can see my frequencies, and I can see my loudness, and I can see what's happening in the stereo field, just to monitor what's happening, because FL Studio doesn't come equipped with these tools for you to monitor your frequencies nicely in a way that's really good. That's why I love to use Insight for just this purpose. And if you want a free version that you can use to analyze your frequencies and everything, you can use Span, or you can use Ulean loudness meter. I will have links down below to where you can get those. I've also spoken about them here on the channel as well. You can also check them out, but you can use those. But let's get back to the maximizer here so we can talk about it a little bit. So I'm just going to turn off, make sure Insight is turned off, and then go back to our maximizer here. And there goes my CPU, because I'm also screen recording. So here on my maximizer, I'm not really doing much. I'm just adding a little bit of gain so that it's loud and everything is at the loudness that I want it to be. And you can see here I have the true peak turned on, and I have a ceiling of minus 0.1 dB. So it's not hitting exactly 0 dB. I'm using the IRC3, and I'm using the clipping, but you can pick whichever one sounds good to you, either the crisp, the balance, or the pumping. You can just see what works with your track. And I'm adding a little bit of a fast character, and the transients around 20%, and also the sustain. They are both linked, and that's all I'm doing to the track to make it sound really good. And Ozone is the best for me to use to master my tracks. I've been using Ozone for a really long time, and what I like about Ozone is that you don't have to use it like this, applying it like effect by effect. You can also use it as a suite. So I can do this, and then I can just load it up like that, and then boom, then I have it as a suite. And what's nice about using it as a suite like this, you also have Master Assistant that that you can use. I have shown you guys how to use Master Assistant. It can actually, if you're a beginner, it can actually help you have a starting point. If you don't know exactly what you're trying to do to your master, you can use that. And other things that you can find here on Ozone that are really dope is that you also have your reference over here, so you can load up a reference track that you want to use to reference match your track to. And you also have a mono and stereo switch. It sums up the left and the right channels to mono, and you can just mono everything. And it also has a codec switch, so you can anticipate what your track is going to sound like when it's compressed to compressed codecs like MP3 and AAC. So you can see if I pick MP3 and I pick like a low bitrate or whatever, and then I play the track, so I can anticipate how my track is going to sound when it gets compressed by these compression methods of these codecs. And that's really cool. You also have dither right there, and that's just it. And I also like that the metering here can also show you different metering modes. You can see, I like to use LUFS because that's the metering mode that is required these days, especially on streaming services. And I like to have my track around -8 on the really loudest and -12 LUFS on the really quietest tracks that I work on. So that's basically what I do to my masters. But that's it. If you have any questions about mastering that you might have, that you want to ask, or if you have any topic that you might want me to cover in a future video, drop them down below in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching this rundown of mastering. I hope you learned a whole lot. If you want Ozone and if you want any of the plugins that I use here on the channel, check the link in the description down below. You will find everything that I use here on the channel. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. I'm X and I'm out. Peace.